It's a tale as old as time. David versus Goliath, Batman versus Superman, Ahab versus Moby Dick. Cebu, the land of lechon and fiestas, now has a new governor. Hello, I'm John Sitchon, and you're watching Rappler Talk. Today, we're joined by a woman on a mission, a woman who captured more than 1 million votes versus an incumbent who had the power, the machinery, the network, and the connections to make things happen. This new governor is a philanthropist, a known healthcare advocate, and a supporter of former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Allow me to welcome Cebu Governor-elect Pamela Baricuatro. Welcome, welcome, Pam.
Hi, John. Thank you for having me here in your show. I'm delighted to be here. Daghang salamat.
Very, it's a very great opportunity to have you here with us for this Rapper Talk because we're so. It perhaps maybe one of the first few times that we're able to get one of the highest ranking officials in the province on our show. This might be a record broken, but um, just to give you an idea of what we're going to be having, also for
Mm,
our
mm,
audience who are going to be watching this
mm,
as well. We're going to be talking about your plans for a new
mm,
Cebu. Of course, you said it yourself. We heard you as the woman with a great mandate from the people of Cebu. One of your top priorities will go from improving the public healthcare system in the province, ensuring that there are enough medication, there's enough doctors being hired, all the way to improving as well infrastructure in different parts of the province, to making it so that tourism is also not
mm.
forgotten and set aside.
Right.
So those things we will be talking about. But first, of course, we want to, of course, know more about Pamela Baricuatro, the woman who captured more than 1 million votes in Cebu. So, um, Pam, maybe you can tell us about your background because we know for a fact that you are one of the first few people to have founded this a food bank. I hope you can
Mm.
correct me on that.
Oh,
This
that's
food bank
correct.
in the province. Maybe you'd like to talk more about that.
Thank you, John. I like what you said about a woman with a mission. No, so tale as old as time. So I like that one. I'm really a woman with a mission, no? And my mission is to help the people, the province of Cebu, and make a change, make a difference in the province of Cebu. First and foremost, I not many people know this, but at 16 years old, I was elected as a KB chairman, and I studied political science at the University of San Carlos. I was a student leader and a student activist during my time there, and I studied law for 3 years, and I wasn't able to finish because I was accepted by Cathay Pacific as a flight stewardess, and I was based in Hong Kong for over 20 years. So before I retired, to make up for my unfinished law school, I studied at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. I studied public leadership. And shortly after I retired, I was appointed by the Duterte administration as board of director for Land Bank Resource and Development Corporation. But as what you've said earlier, what you've mentioned, no, for the past 10 years, even while I was based in Hong Kong, I started my foundation, the Simply Share Foundation. Our advocacy is food security, hunger, and malnutrition. So we started the first food bank in the Visayas. I started pala the first food bank in the Visayas, the second one in the country. I have one daughter and one husband and three dogs. What else can I say about myself? Yun lang naman siguro for now.
We had this very chance opportunity to talk about Cebu yesterday. We were both at the same forum, and
Mm,
at
mm,
that forum, I had asked you about what had made you the better choice, or rather, why did more than 1 million voters choose you over an incumbent who has the machinery, who has the network, and your insight was that you had this silver bullet. Parang your silver bullet was your personality, this calm nature that you're able to deliver. Maybe you can explain to us more about that.
Mm. Yeah, thank you for asking. I saw you nga yesterday, you were asking Mayor Nestor Archibald. Sabi ko, nako, matindi si John. Anyway, but thank you for asking that. I think there are three factors talaga that made me win. First and foremost, I think people in Cebu, they want change na talaga. No, I think something along the way happened that they made them transfer of affection like TOA sila. Second is of course the Duterte factor, which I said I had a silver bullet, and that's President Duterte. And the third one is also acceptability. Siguro likable lang ako sa mga tao, na acceptable ako sa kanila. So I can see those three factors.
Ah, very interesting.
Yeah.
When you mentioned about parang being more the last factor, could we, perhaps could it be attributed to the various TikToks that you do? Because I would check your social media pages, and you're very fond of using what Gen Zs, what Gen millennials like to use. Do you think
Talaga?
that added to of course to your likability perhaps towards the youth vote as well?
I Yeah, I think that's also one factor. But really, it started when I was a director of Land Bank, So kasi, every session that we have, no, it's, alam mo naman yung pag may board, matindi yan eh, brain work. So after each board meeting, so I just do my TikTok with the other staff just to distress. Parang nakasinayan na rin. So during the campaign, I have to continue. But what's funny is, meron naman ako mga TikTok na talking about my priority programs, but it just so happened na yung mga sayaw ko, yun yung nagiging viral. So akala ng mga tao, yun lang ang ginagawa ko, no, sumasayaw. Yun lang nagba-viral talaga, yung dancing ko. Kasi sabi mo, Gen Z thing, di ba? Kaya siguro nag-viral yun.
Yeah, there's that viral factor, but I'm sure if we took a look at what was happening on grounds,
Mm,
because not everyone in Cebu has a phone, not everyone
yeah,
lives in the urban areas,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you had the opportunity to go to the rural areas, to talk to
Mm,
the villagers, to talk to the fisher folk and farmers. Take us back to the early days of your campaign, because we want to
mm,
know what was your point of view in trying to not just
mm.
gather their votes but also connect with the Cebuanos.
Actually, the truth to this is, ano lang talaga, yung team ko, yung nakita nila kung ano talagang what I usually do, what I normally do. So, nakita nila na gusto ko doon sa mga tabi-tabi, kumakain, nakikipag-usap. So, yun na lang, we just continued what I love doing. So, that was the tune of the whole campaign, no? Nakikita nila na it's easy for me to connect to people on the grassroots. Nakikita nila na gusto ko kausapin yung mga tao, and they see me like eating, doon sa mga karinderiya. So, pinagpatuloy na lang nila yun, yung who really, yung ugali ko. So, I think it started there eh. So, wala, very simple lang talaga yung campaign ko. Actually, yung proclamation ko was in one of the third-class municipality. Tapos yung, also, the same thing, yung meeting na Banse ko was also in another municipality. So,
Mm.
ganun lang. The tune of the campaign was very simple, and they just showcased me.
So what I'm getting at is the simplicity of your campaign and being able to connect sa mga pulong-pulong, the small
Correct.
caucuses you have with
Yeah.
the of course
Tama
with
ka
the
dyan.
people.
Yeah, you're
And
absolutely. Go ahead, John. Sorry.
yeah, we saw those photos and videos of you actually enjoying a meal with
Mm,
itong people from who are just outside their sari-sari store, mga
yeah.
vendors, and that there's that quality that we also see in so many other politicians that were also running their campaigns in their respective
Mm, mm,
um,
mm, mm.
uh, respective areas. But I just want us to go to the second factor that you mentioned, which is the Duterte factor. In an
Mm.
earlier interview that you had, you mentioned about this Duterte country. You were asked if Cebu was a Duterte country, and you said yes, Cebu is a Duterte country. But we want to flesh that out more and ask you, um, what exactly does this Duterte vote look like? Who do they look like?
Kasi if you look at the senatoriables sa Duterte, so most of the yung Duterte they won. But you know what? In my case, no, so it's a combination. I also have voters from the other spectrum, the color spectrum, no. May mga pinks, may mga yellows, no. So that's why sabi ko nga yeah, it is a Duterte country, but in my case, I got votes also from the other side, from the other, from the other, how do I describe it na parang politically correct? I
Yeah.
get votes also from the other color spectrum. Kaya nga sabi ko, it should be a colorless leadership and governance.
So that's a very interesting take that you have because
Mm.
previously it was really a Duterte country. And we
Mm.
looked at the data actually.
Mm.
In different in men even the highly urbanized cities, a
Mm.
lot of the choices were really the PDP Laban senatoriables, and but when it came down to the
Mm. Correct.
mayors, a lot of them were from one Cebu. A lot of
Correct.
them were not even like yourself, who are part of the on the list of those who were endorsed by the
Mm.
former president himself. So, Gov, maybe you can explain to us also what happened there, because I believe you were part of Team Liberate Cebu, and on
Yeah.
that team, it was Cebu City mayoral candidate, and of course, ex-mayor Mike
Right.
Rama, and of course, ex-mayor and ex-congresswoman
Mm.
Paz Daza. Then you also have one of those who were endorsed as well in February,
Mm.
Jonas Cortez in Mandawi City. So
Mm. Mm.
you, we would describe you as the big four,
Yeah.
yourself included, and
Correct.
out of that four, you won. So that maybe you can give us an insight on what had happened there.
Yeah, looking at it, no, sabi ko earlier na people really are looking for change, and the only thing that's uncommon sa aming apat is that I have no background in politics, whereas Mayor Rama was mayor before, Mayor Paz, and of course Mayor Jonas, no? The three of them has already a position. Well, ako lang yung wala. So, we could assume na probably yung, I don't know if it has something to do with the Duterte, no, endorsement, but it's more like people really want change in the province of Cebu. Yun lang talaga
Speaking
yung factor. Go ahead.
Speaking of factors, because they also did their campaigns in their respective areas, and I'm sure when you characterize campaigns, it's always case to case basis based on where these campaigns were done. Um,
Mm.
Besides the pulong-pulongs, what else would you factor in as a contributor to the success of your campaign?
My social media campaign and my comms team were also very effective in utilizing the resources. So that's also one aspect that really helped. Kasi mahirap, hindi ko lahat napasok yung mga places talaga in the province. Kasi ang laki ng province of Cebu. And of
Mm.
course, the radio also, the media is also very helpful. Like I had one interview with Rufel Banyok, who is attorney Rufel Banyok, no, who is very popular sa mga AM radio all over the province, in the mountain barangay. So, hindi ko na ma-reach lahat. So, kaya big help talaga ang social media and also itong local news media natin.
Very interesting. So you had this connection, Gov, with the media, and of course,
Yeah, local.
compared to of course, your contender, Cebu Governor
Mm,
Gwen Garcia,
mm,
outgoing
mm,
Cebu Governor, what
mm.
we would notice is she would have these press conferences on her live stream, and she would have the media talk to her. But you reached out to members of the media to be able to connect with them and also share your stories.
Yeah,
Is that right? That was the kind of thing that you experienced?
You're correct, you know, you're correct. Your observation is correct. As a matter of fact, I went around 49 interviews, local media, mga radio stations. Pinuntahan ko yun, bali na balik-balikan ko. I did the rounds talaga. So, I think that also helped. Kasi sa province, hindi naman, yung iba walang internet, radyo lang. So, nakatulong din yun.
So you were able really to go on grounds, connect to the radio stations and the
Mm-hmm.
media that are, of course, providing the information. That's very interesting, and it also solidifies the value of mga traditional media in these areas, no?
Correct.
But let's go forward into uh, Duterte, and I'm sure you know, based on what we know already, uh, for the former president is already in the custody of the International Criminal Court and is in The Hague and in the Netherlands, facing allegations for crimes against humanity. So we wanted to get your perspective on that. What do you think about the allegations that the former president is facing, especially considering you were endorsed by the former president himself?
Um, you know, it's tough, no? Kasi parang feeling ko, you know, is like a national treasure, no? A past president, tapos parang binigay lang natin doon, parang parang walang value ba yung pagka-presidente niya. Parang national treasure rin eh, past president natin yan, dapat alagaan yan. Parang kinidnap lang doon based on the findings sa Senate ni Senator Amy. So, mahirap din. It's not fair.
Speaking of the former president, because you run a campaign that was very much about empathy, about showing kindness, even to those marginalized sectors. So we're very curious to know because from what we've observed and things that were said by the former president, especially on women, for example,
Mm-mm.
this is the former president did say that jobs like the presidency are not jobs for women, and so we wanted to know how do you feel about that, or where do you draw the line on that?
Alam mo naman si President Duterte, ganun lang yun siya. He talks, no? But if he's really sexist or he's against women, eh bakit yung anak niya naging abogada? 'Di ba? So you can tell na hindi naman siya ganoon. It's just that sometimes you know how he is, no? He loves to talk, he loves to say jokes, tell jokes, no? Pero it does not you shouldn't judge him based on that.
If there was a during his administration, you were appointed to the land bank under his
Yeah.
administration. Yes, and during that administration, there was the drug war. There was all of these accusations in terms of his properties, and of course, owning these owning weapons at his own estate. We wanted to ask you if there was one thing in that administration that you would have wanted the former president to prioritize, what would it have been? Kof?
I think he should have, based on my advocacy lang, he should have started major food banks in in all major cities. Yun lang naman sa akin kasi yun yung advocacy ko. So actually I was advocating that also, no, pero doon ako nalagay sa land bank, so hindi ko na follow up yun. So I just did it in my own private capacity. Iba kasi yung food bank pag may support sa government, no? So kung we did advocate, pero yung towards the end na hindi na nahabol. Although there was a zero gutom, you know, campaign, but dapat merong mga major food banks in major cities. We managed to do it naman in Manila, one run by Rise Against Hunger and SMC, and I'm doing mine in Cebu for Visayas. So, all's well that ends well naman. It's just that dapat, if we had time pa, They should have made one all over the kasi all over the country kasi food bank is a proven solution in addressing hunger and food insecurity.
With transition underway, Gov, you will
Mm.
be, of course, very busy with managing the provincial capital. So,
Mm.
what will happen to Simply Share Foundation and the
Mm.
food banks that you would have wanted to proliferate all over the country?
Actually, the food bank and the foundation is being run by my daughter. It is in good hands because she's a medical doctor and her specialty, advocacy and specialty is in public health. So, in good hands naman and we can always collaborate. Kasi pag merong food bank, this will help during times of crisis, no? Pag may mga calamities, no? So, at least meron tayong food reserve. So, makakatulong talaga yan. And we could also make one for the province and even in the city. And Simply Share Foundation could help the province and the city run a food bank to address our hunger situation. Since we are a part of the global food banking network, no, so we can help the province of Cebu and the city of Cebu create their own food banks para ma-affect talaga natin, ma-address talaga natin ang hunger.
Besides addressing hunger, Gov, you also have this plan of improving the public healthcare system in the province. So we want to know, was it something that you learned through surveys or because your top priority is improving the hospitals, adding more medicine to the
Yeah.
hospitals. So how did you come to learn about or what were your observations of the healthcare system in Cebu?
For the past 10 years, I've been involved in the feeding programs all over the province. So, kaya nakikita ko yun eh. Kasi you're dealing with those people facing hunger, no? And poverty. So, kaya nakikita ko yung hirap nila din sa mga access nila sa hospital care dito sa Cebu. So, for the past years, nakita ko talaga how the people of Cebu were suffering, especially sa province, regarding sa healthcare access. So, it came there from my foundation. So, kaya isa yon sa mga priority projects ko during the campaign that if elected, I will work on the hospital and also the healthcare access.
Ah, I see. So when it comes to healthcare access, um, you already mentioned that the problem is that many of attendees of the missionary work that you've been doing for these community kitchens,
Mm,
the
mm.
food banks, many of them were not only malnourished but also facing sickness and certain
Yeah.
and any unequal access to the hospitals and services there. So you mentioned in another interview that with this being your top priority, that means some projects, some programs in the capital right now would have to be set aside, of course, to prioritize that kind of thing. And one of those things that you mentioned that you'd be discontinuing was Pasigarbo sa Sugbo and Suroy Suroy Sugbo. You said it shouldn't be me that should be Suroy Suroy going around. It should be the mobile clinics and the kitchens. But can you tell us more about that plan? What is the direction like?
Mm, mm. It started because of uh, h- the amount being spent um, in Pasigarbo. Based on data, this 255 million spent in one day for that festivity. So with that amount of money, we can use it to augment the budget in healthcare. So ang daming matutulungan, no? And also yung this is Pasigarbo. Yung suroy-suroy naman, that's the original the one that who did it was the Cebu Chamber of Commerce. Hindi naman talaga yung province of Cebu. So, yung sinabi ko na ayoko na patuloy sa province of Cebu. But I will give the option to the Cebu Chamber of Commerce if they want to continue it under their guidance now and supervision. If they want to have it back If they think that it would be good for tourism, I'm open to the idea na sila na magpatuloy doon. But as far as the province is concerned, hindi ko na ipapatuloy yon kasi it's a drain on the budget of the LGU yung pinupuntahan. Kasi they have to put up money to entertain all the guests, even if capital will give you a certain amount. In most cases, hindi yan enough. May mga mayors na nagreklamo pero hindi lang sila vocal about it kasi natatakot because of the powers that be. So, kaya yun, that's really primarily the reason kaya ayaw kong ipapatuloy yun.
So, Gov, one of the biggest arguments that we're hearing from the side of the capital is that the reason why Pasigarbo sa Subo and Suri-Suri sa Subo has been around is because the tourism sector greatly benefited greatly benefited from it, but also that it brought in more investments and more commerce into the areas that are, of course, considered last mile communities, far flung municipalities and towns. So, what would happen then? With you removing this big ticket, this big project coming from the province? What would be the alternative then? How would you still maintain or even promote the tourism of the province?
Bakit? Meron bang data? Meron ba silang data pinisent na it improved the tourism industry because of those two festivity? Yun yung question dyan. Meron ba silang na-provide na data na nakatulong yun sa tourism industry?
That's a good question, Gov. A lot of the things that we got based on the press conferences, based on statements, was of course the data coming from the Philippine Statistics Authority that Cebu has maintained its increase and rising trend over the years of having a growing economy. And that's for Cebu in the Central Visayas region. But whether that has a direct correlation with the activities towards tourism, that towards the Surusuri sa Sugbo and Pasigarbo sa Sugbo, I'm sure that's something that we can explore. But from your side, maybe you can tell us because next year the ASEAN Tourism there's going to be a huge event in 2026 with the ASEAN coming over here in Cebu. So we're wondering how you would be preparing for that still if we're going to be taking out all of these tourism projects.
No, it doesn't mean we're not entirely, we're looking at other options, less expensive options. And as far as Pasigarbo is concerned, there has to be only one festivity or one festival in Cebu Island, and for the longest time it has always been Sinulog. I don't see the reason why the province has to compete and bring out another festival. Diba? If you look at other provinces, Aklan, Ati-Atihan, there has always been only one Ati-Atihan, diba? So bakit pa kailangan magawa tayo ng another festivity, another festival? Regarding the ASEAN uh, convention, no, it's going to be next year. Of course, we welcome it. We welcome it kasi makakatulong din naman yan sa ating tourism industry. But we have to look at into also other infrastructure, no, for tourism, like our north and our south bus terminal. Alam mo naman yung, 'di ba, ni-expose ni Tulfo ni Senator Tulfo na kulang yung facility doon. Tsaka nagpapabayad, no, when you use it. So that's something that we have to fix before ASEAN comes. Nakakahiya naman yung mga tourists pumupunta doon tapos they have to pay before they can use the toilet. And look at Moalboal. It's a tourist area, but when you go there, you just go in the beach, you have to pay na for environmental fee. And then if you swim, then you have to pay again another tourism tax. Bakit naman ganyan? It's not conducive to tourism yung ginagawa nila. Oh, look at Oslob. Yung where the whale sharks are, you familiar with that? Yung mga whale sharks.
Yeah.
Yung waiting area nila, monoblocks yung chair, tsaka yung tent for the longest time, and they're getting so much money out of those tourist activity, no? So bakit ganyan? So we have tourist delegates coming in, tapos ganyan yung infrastructure natin, tourism infrastructure, tapos naniningil sila ng malaking tourism tax. Di ba, nakakahiya naman. So that's something that I will look into once I get into office.
Once you get into office, Gov, for sure by 2026, 2027, there will be a new Cebu. For you, what does this new Cebu look like?
We are entering into the new era of Cebu where governance is about service, care, and love for the people, where fear is eradicated entirely. It's about service and not dominance.
Before anything, Gov, if there's anything you'd like to say to your predecessor, the outgoing Cebu Governor Gwen Garcia, what would you want to tell them?
Who? The outgoing governor?
The outgoing
Well,
governor.
as far as her position is concerned, I want to thank her for the service that she has done. She has rendered to the people of the province of Cebu. I have much respect for her position. Thank you, John.
Gov, okay. Gov, if there's anything, before we end, of course, it would be a
Mhm.
great opportunity for you to give us at least some parting words, some parting wisdom that you would
Mhm.
want the Cebuanos and that you would want our viewers on Rappler to know.
Mhm.
And if there's anything else that you would like to say.
Yeah. First and foremost, John, thank you for the this opportunity to be able to talk to you and your televiewers and of course to the people of the province of Cebu. Daghan kaayog salamat sa inyong mandato nga gihatag nako. My victory is your victory. And this is going to be a long haul for us. There's a lot of things has to be done and to be undone. So I need your help, and and I'm hoping and praying that with the mandate that you've given me, that we are going to do this together. And daghan kay salamat all the volunteers, whether you are green or red or pink or yellow. Daghan kay salamat sa inyuhang gihatag nako nga mandato, ug I'm internally grateful for that, and I will do my best to be able to serve you to the best of my ability. Thank you so much, John.
And there you have it. Come hell or high water, Governor elect Pamela Baricuatro is determined to make Cebu better than what her previous predecessors could ever deliver. Us, on the other hand, at Rappler, we're prepared to bring you more stories from the province of Cebu, both in and out, the local lens, and the beyond. Of course, thank you to Gov Pamela for joining us on this episode, and to our viewers, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. And we still have more stories to bring you, more coverages, and more deep dives that you can check out on our social media pages and the Rappler Communities channel. So the app is available on our iPhone, on the App Store and the iStore. Of course, you can check it out. We will be giving you more updates coming from Cebu, from the regions, and from the nation as well. Once again, I'm John Sitchon, and you're watching Rappler Talk.